Hey folks, I'm just doing a design video update here. I've been working on a bunch of bugs, most of which sort of you folks won't have actually seen in the game. I'm just dealing with edge cases to do with player physics. I'm trying to clean it up. Lots of maintenance stuff, business paperwork, but also the level I'm working on this week is going to be in the section, the spikeball factory. It's got sticky walls and the air sword and double jump, so you've got a lot of double jumpy air sortie problems. It also has triple jump, and since the level's vertical, we've got some interesting jumping under things using the newly introduced triple jump, and then air sorting across, going up, and then going back kind of thing. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. But let me talk about the spikeball factory for a second. I want to talk about sections. So I'm planning this thing. So ESJ1, I had a certain approach, which was telling the level designers, make whatever is in your heart. Like, take a piece of music, design the level around it. Come up with a really cool concept, design the level around that. Don't worry about how it fits into the overall world, because we'll make it work afterwards. And what I want is I want the individual levels to feel good. Don't worry about carrying through the story. And I think that worked. Once we got about 30, 35 levels, I started designing levels to fill in the bits and introduce some stuff and, finish off some stuff so that it became a coherent, difficulty ramp and so on. For this second game, I'm doing it differently. For one thing, I have more experience, and for another thing, I have slightly different goals, and for a third thing, I'm the only level designer so far, so it's a different flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 3 bosses and 3 worlds that are more or less 15 levels each. So it's similar to the first game. But I'm going to do it with different focuses. So the first world, and I use the term world loosely, is going to be sort of more handcrafted. It's going to be very individual. The first world is going to be made out of about 15 to 20 levels, and it's going to have a lot of stuff going on, because not only is it going to have the tutorial where you learn each of the base abilities, I'll teach some other ones later, and also just a very, very, hopefully, very polished difficulty ramp, because this is going to be where people show up, have no idea how to play the game, and get into playing the game. It's going to have a mini-boss, is my current intention. I did a sort of ATST robot chicken boss that I've pixelated, and we'll see about fitting that in. That'll be about level 6 or 7, right? Like, it'll be a fairly easy boss, and it will give you something. This is nothing to do with the theme or storyline. This is not in-world. This is game dev talking. This is entirely meta. It will give the player something to focus on and an accomplishment at about level 7, which I think ESJ kind of missed, because you didn't get to beat a boss until the very end, and the first boss was very hard, and I kind of want to give them a stepping stone to the first boss. There'll also be a lot of different worlds within the first world. There'll be a lot of different themes. I'm definitely going to have a section that's all snow and ice, leading up to Santa Claus, who's going to be the first boss. I want to introduce snowboarding, which will be an ability which you may have seen in Hot Sticky Mess, the DLC, but in that one level. But that inspired me, and I've got a whole thing. But then World 2 is going to be different. World 2 is basically looking at the stats for ESJ1. World 1, most people who were casual players played some or all of World 1. And that was where they got their experience. And when people come up to me at cons, 90% of the time, they really like level X, and level X is something in World 1. They like the Pope, they like the pink levels, they like, So looking at the stats, most of the people who got to World 2 got to, sorry, my computer's buzzing, got to World 3 as well. That's where you get into the gamers. That's where you get into the speedrunners. That's where you get into the people who like hard platformers and are here to stay. And so World 1 will be challenging, and I'll definitely have coins and secrets and some stuff in there to like spice it up. It won't be a boring tutorial. I'm not going to do that difficulty ramp where people quit because, oh god, this game's too easy, even though of course later on it isn't. But World 2 is where that sort of starts getting more serious, and that's when I'm going to start doing something I didn't do in ESJ1, because in ESJ1 every level was individual, and that was part of its charm, right? Each level was a completely different color, and it was very eclectic. So for ESJ2, World 2 is going to have more coherent sections. I'm going to have a party city section where every level is going to be based around the abilities double jump and stomp. They're all going to be pink, although I'll have some variances on the theme, and they're all going to be scrolling and fast-paced. And so what that will allow is speed runs of that section, and also just nice long flowing parts of about 4 or 5 or 6 levels where you learn the muscle memory for 2 or so abilities, and you use those abilities and you get really good at it, and it will feel good in playing it that there are those abilities, and you learn them, the muscle memory, and then when you move on to another section, you'll actually feel like you're missing an arm because you'll press for the button and it won't do quite what you expect. So I think I like that rather than switching it up a whole bunch. There's also going to be the spikeball factory, which is going to be a section that is going to be the air sword and triple jump. And triple jump is a thing that I like because it gives you... I also have quintuple jump, which is more of a gimmick, and I'll play with it in probably 1 or 2 levels, where it gives you 5 jumps. But triple jump is really interesting because it allows you to arrest your momentum if you're falling and redirect yourself, i.e. a double jump, and then also redirect again, which means you can now go around corners. You can go under the bottom of walls. You can go over ledges and back and up. So there'll be some pretty intricate stuff there, which I want to play with. And I want to play with that in the space of an entire section that's like 5 coherent levels. And so that's what I'm looking for Worlds 2 and 3, where they start getting into, they have sort of mini chunks or themes, which I'm calling sections. And also I'm going to sort of split the music in a way, like obviously it'll match each level, but I think generally each world, I have an idea for a purple section of worlds where the music is a little bit slower and bassier and the worlds are a bit darker, and the action is more about stomping monsters and less about screen scrolling, and so it's just a slower pace. So yeah, the reason currently there's a bug where some of the levels don't record your deaths or your time. The reason that that's broken is just because I'm transitioning to a better meta map, world map. So I'm not fixing it in the old temporary level screen because I'm about to dump it. So I don't know if that's going to come in this week because I'm not quite done, but next week that should be in. I'm going to work on that. Yeah, so this has been a fairly extended dev video where I'm talking about overall level balancing. Hope you enjoyed my blathering. Yeah, and the level this week is quite hard. I rage quit it already once. Basically, tomorrow is going to be me playtesting it just to make sure it's possible and tweaking it, and maybe adding a checkpoint, maybe taking away a checkpoint. So we'll see how that goes. All right, well, I'll probably post this tonight, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with the new level. See ya.